Have you ever felt like a great thing was about to happen, but everything was going wrong? Have you ever thought about why things get so hard just when you're about to succeed? What you're going through is not a mistake. I want you to know that. Words. A sign that God is planning something amazing that you never thought was possible. It's a sign that your gift is almost here. But this is the truth. Before He gives you something lovely, God will try you, make you pure, and shape you into someone who can handle what you want. A lot of people give up before they make progress because they can't see the signs. They're getting ready for payback, which is a problem. This is known as hold-up denial. But when God is ready to give you something big, you will see certain things. Today I'm going to tell you what those things are so you don't miss what God is doing in your life. Are you ready to read road signs? Could you please wait a little longer? It's going to be bigger than you think. Let's begin. In the last few minutes before something great happens, life often tests us. You may have prayed, fasted, and put your faith in God to help you get better. However, things look like they're getting tougher. Things that look like open doors slam shut. Relationships based on trust become unstable. Some tasks seem to be made to make you think about everything. Your hope, your goal, and the promises God made. A lot of people quit during this time. They didn't care that they were almost there with what they wanted. Please get it. Sometimes being pushed away is the best way to tell that God is about to do something big in your life. So as not to waste His time, the enemy doesn't bother people who aren't bringing anything valuable. Don't give up if you are having more attacks, if your life is getting harder, or if you feel like you are in a storm with no end in sight. Now is the time to attack because the other side's enemy is better than you think. Think about Joseph. God should raise him up and make him a guide and a gift to many. What did you do before the dream? His brothers lied to him, locked him up, put him in a pit, sold him as a slave, and then wrongfully put him in jail. Feel his feelings whenever you want. Perhaps I was wrong. He could have said that. Perhaps the Lord didn't speak. He didn't accept that this is my life, but I should. Even though it wasn't fair, he stayed loyal. It was like God changed everything in an instant. Joseph was locked up one day. After that, he stood in front of Pharaoh and began his fateful journey. Take a look at your life right now. Have you ever felt like you had too much to handle? Have you ever thought about why everything broke? If you started to believe in something bigger, what if you saw these problems as signs that you were on the right path? Is it possible that your current issue is the last thing stopping you from making progress? I've seen this trend many times before God does something important. This season, He lets tests happen. Because of what He did, we have to deal with tough events that test our faith. So we have to fully trust Him. He gets us ready for harm, not does harm to us. Because giving too quickly can turn a gift into a burden, mostly because we won't be able to handle happiness if we don't learn to trust Him through hard times. There are some things that can only be learned through fire. During a storm, you'll get stronger. God's blessing isn't enough. He wants your spirit, faith, and strength to keep it going. This will make people more against it before something big happens. You will face problems that seem impossible to solve. Listen up, now is not the time to give up or pull away. Now is the time to trust God, stand firm, and believe in the promise. It might not be clear, but David was made king. He did not, however, take that job right away. He hid in caves and fought against Saul's best efforts for years to get away from him. Why is that? Because God was getting him ready. Besides that, He backed him. He was making him more than just a king who wore the crown, but who has the heart of a leader. God's plan could not be stopped when the time was right. You might be there now. You might feel like you're running into problems you didn't expect. Maybe you're not sure if the claim is true. Please allow me to give you hope. Your story goes on. Being opposed means that something bigger is about to happen. Don't give up and quit from the stress. Don't question yourself because things are hard. God's promise to you will come true. When that time comes, you'll look back on this season and see that every problem, delay, and obstacle was important for you to succeed. You're ready for anything important because God makes sure you are. One of the hardest things we'll ever do is wait. A feeling of being uncomfortable. It could make you wonder that God heard your prayers. In fact, you know what he did. You think he is at work, but nothing seems to be happening. The doors are shut. The situation hasn't changed. I have something to tell you. Some of you may be wondering if you got what he meant or if you were wrong. God will bless you after he waits. This isn't meant to punish or discourage you. It's meant to get you ready. Faith grows when you wait. God will make you a better person, make your faith stronger, and teach you to trust that he will do what he says. This is where God will build your trust. This is hard for many people because society tells us that there's no point in waiting. Things are moving quickly in the world. Success, communication, and availability right away. God's plans are not the same as ours. His time was just right. That's okay if he's making you wait, mostly because he is working on something inside you that is just as important as what he is getting ready for you. Think about Abraham. God told him many years ago that he would be the father of many countries, but that promise was never kept. The promise became harder to keep as he and Sarah got older. Abraham must have been confused and angry, and he may have thought if God had forgotten about him. But God wasn't waiting to make him wait. In the background, Abraham was planning something much bigger. The promise was kept when all the parts were in place. It's never too early or too late. You might be there now. It's possible that you are now going through a long and hard wait. Nothing seems to be changing, even though you are faithful and pray. You see other people make progress and accept their gifts. God, did you forget about me? I want to make sure you know that God remembers you. Yes, he is not ignoring you. There is nothing he is hiding. He gets you ready because he doesn't want to rush his plans for you. You can learn some things by having to wait. You need faith and patience to build up what God wants to teach and grow in you. You wouldn't be able to handle the gift if he gave it to you early. If he opened the door early, he would not be blessed. That would be hard. That's not okay with God because he loves you too much. David, a young shepherd, was made king, but he didn't take the throne right away. He decided to go back to the fields. He stayed out of sight for years, staying away from Saul, and thought about when God's promise would come true. During that time, though, God was making him into a leader. He wasn't just named king when he became king. He did what he was called to do because he had the heart, mind, and strength to do it. Don't let being down keep you from doing God's work while you wait. Without a doubt, not waiting. His growth gets better. Your faith is being put to the test. Your trust is growing, and you are getting better to get ready for the promise to come true. All set to take in. Also, you should know that God can move in strange ways. Things will look the same soon. Quickly, doors will open, your prayers will be answered, and you'll be able to go into what you've been thinking about. For now, though, you need to hold on, stay true, and trust, because God always has something better in store for you than you can think. If God plans to do something big in your life, he tells everyone everything. He tells you to sign. He shows you signs that things are right. Sadly, a lot of people don't know about them. They want something big, loud, and impossible to ignore. Most of the time, faith is how God talks to us. Have you ever felt like everything about you was changing, but you couldn't figure out why? You knew something was going to change when your spirit moved. That feeling wasn't made up on the spot. God was getting you ready for every big move he made. He makes it seem like he is setting up something bigger. It could be a door opening or closing without warning, or a chance, one where you have to turn around. A failure can be a divine reorientation at times. Think about Moses. He had been taking care of sheep in the bush for many years. Before he saw something strange, his life was normal. A bush that is partly burned. It caught his eye right away. He looked for a while. Moses might have missed it, though, if he was too busy, distracted, or stuck in his routine. He stepped back to see and then got the call that would change his life forever. How often do we miss what God wants to say because we are busy? Our own plans, problems, and goals take up too much of our time. We ask God to show us the way, but when he does, we fight it because it's not what we were expecting. Listen up. When God wants to reward you or move you up, He will send you signs. They can come from other people, your situation, or a strong feeling you can't ignore. These signs can cause strange things to happen. It hurts and isn't clear why that door wouldn't open. A failed relationship, a sudden job loss, or a door that seemed right but wouldn't. But what if that door was God's way of saving you? What would you do if He took something away from you to make things better for you? A lot of the time, we're sad about what we lost, but God was always making room for what we wanted. Sometimes the sign is a strong belief about something. Have you ever had a strong feeling that you couldn't get rid of? Do you have a dream, vision, or idea that won't go away? Even though you tried to ignore it, it kept coming back. God puts something inside you that He wants to show you, not just thoughts. This is the problem. God's visions never tell us everything we need to know. You get just the right amount of information to move forward. Gideon had something happen to him. He wasn't sure when God told him to take charge. He asked God to make sure he heard right because he wasn't sure. He got it as a gift from God. 3 times. God knows that you need help when He greets you. He will make things clear because He knows you need it. I want to warn you that trusting facts may require faith, because God doesn't always send sensible things when He's busy. You have to trust Him more than what you can see. He told you to use entrances you wouldn't normally use. Even though you didn't know, He asked you to assume that He has a job. Pay attention. Watch out for changes as you move. It is very important to pay attention to trends, possibilities, and times that don't make sense and seem too good to be coincidences. Because God will show you something important, and only people who are willing to believe will be able to see it. When God gives you something important, He will always ask you to trust Him. He's not going to tell you everything. He won't always show you how to put things together. You have to trust Him. It's a tough spot for many. They want to know everything. They want peace of mind. They want to know what will happen and how things will go before they take the first step. There is no such thing as that in religion. Believers have hope even when they don't have answers. When you don't know what to do next, faith keeps you going. Accepting God's will, even when you want to wait for more information, is part of being loyal. Don't forget about Peter. During a storm, Jesus showed up to him and the other followers on the water. Waves and strong winds were all around them. Peter does a great thing. He asked Jesus to tell everyone on the lake to find him. It doesn't make sense. At that time, everything was dangerous. There were many signs that said to stay in the boat. Peter did notice, though. He would be safer on the water with Jesus than in the boat by himself if Jesus called him. Then he left. At that very moment, he did something terrible. He walked on water for a short time. Something took place after that. He fell into the water when he took his eyes off of Jesus and put them on the wind, the waves, and the things going on around him. This happens when fear takes the place of hope. That's what happens when we let doubt change what we do, trusting their own acts instead of the caller. Jesus stopped Peter from drowning even though he was already going under. He reached out and pulled him up to show that He was the God we serve. He doesn't call us out to dull our power. He calls us because He wants us to trust Him even more. A lot of you have recently felt like God is telling you to change. You might be being told by Him to start a business, join the church, move, or give up what you've lost. You feel stuck and don't move forward. You're waiting for the best conditions to happen. You need a clear sign that leaves no room for question. I have something to tell you. You won't move if you wait for things to make sense before leaving the house, because having faith always needs confidence. Faith always needs things to change. Do not believe what you see. Just look at Abraham. God told Abraham to leave the place where he was born, give up everything he knew, and go to a place He would show him. Instead of showing him the way or the place, He would tell him about it as Abraham followed. Abraham left his hometown without knowing where he was going, but was sure that the person who had called him would not let him down. He was the father of many countries because he obeyed. You might feel bad when God asks you to leave your safe zone. In fact, it can be very scary. You might find all the reasons why it doesn't make sense. Someone or something may tell you to stay safe. To get everything God has for you, though, you have to be ready to move when He tells you to. Even when you don't get it, you have to trust Him. In fact, following rules is always important, key to what God has promised. A lot of people are close to making a big step forward, but they are afraid to start. They didn't move because they were afraid. In spite of how scary it might be, God may do a miracle if you move forward and say yes. If you prayed for something big, God might have been waiting for you to do something. The miracle you pray for might happen because you obey. If you've been asking God to open a door, it might be there, ready for you to walk through it with faith. Why are you still here? Trust God if He calls you. It is better to follow His direction. The gift is on the other side of your stiff step.